Hi everyone, this is Chris. It is Monday, May 16th, and I'm here with my Stitch Mania update. I have finished Stitch Mania in the traditional sense. I did 15 starts in 15 days, which is what happened last year with the original Stitch Mania. I didn't participate last year, so this was my first time. So I'll kind of save my thoughts on what I thought of the process for the end. But for now, I'll just give you an update on what I got done. On May 1st, day one, I started the Wherefore Art Thou mystery stitch along from Nora Corbett. I stitched this on 28 count cashel linen in Midsummer Night from Under the Sea Fabrics. And all in all, I really loved it. I'm stitching it with the called for weeks and gassed and all that overdyed stuff. So it took, I probably stitched for 3 or 4 hours, and it took that long to get this done. I really had a difficult time on many of these pieces in that they were mystery stitch-alongs, so I didn't have a clear center marked, or even if I did have a clear center marked, I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted to go. I didn't do the best job of planning out my fabric sizes ahead of time. And on some of these, I am not going to have the margins that I would like to have, the extra fabric. But, I went with what I had basically. But this is just, if you've seen the completed piece, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's Juliet standing on her balcony. And this is just the beginning of the column and some flowers. There'll be like a bunting here and Juliet. The needle minder is a little Mardi Gras mask from Gina's Unique Boutique. So that was day one. And on all of these, the only thing I worked on that day was just this piece, whatever piece it was. So that's that. And oops, now they're going to start sliding on me. Sorry. I kind of stacked them up to make this flow better, but it didn't necessarily work out this way. May 2nd was another mystery Stampler. It's the Lizzie Kate Things Unseen. This came out, I believe I purchased this, purchased this in November, maybe? No, it was Black Friday weekend. So it was November 2014, and at that point, all 3 parts were out. I saw this at my LNS and fell in love with it, and then I purchased it. Why can't I say purchased? Bought it from an Etsy retailer, and I've linked the link before. I don't think she has this available anymore, but she had excellent customer service, so I'll link it again. But I started on the border, and I was talking to Coffee Stitcher a little bit when I was stitching this, because I think the border is what made him want to throw this into the fire. And the whole time I worked on it, I kept thinking, Garrett's going to show up and he's going to rip this off my stand and he's going to pitch it into a fire. He did not. But yeah, the border, it's a lot of border. So I just did a little bit. I kind of measured and measured and stressed out and measured and measured and measured again. And I actually think I'm over a little bit. I could have given myself more room over here, but that's okay. Kind of started in the center of the border and worked my way over and down a little bit, and then I got sick of those few colors and started on the lettering, so that's how far I got on day 2. This is on 28 count cashel linen in Ren from Picture This Plus. It is the recommended fabric. I'm using the recommended threads, which I believe are all weeks. And my needle minder is a pretty little blingy flower from Gina's Unique Boutique. So that was day 2. Day 3 was my birthday. It was May 3rd. And, thanks for all the birthday wishes, everyone who sent birthday wishes. That was really, really nice. I worked, and I worked night shift, so at midnight, it was my birthday, and I worked another 6.5 hours. And I came home and went to sleep, and then went in again at 8 o'clock at night. So basically all I did was work, and I slept. Didn't get to celebrate it till the weekend, but that's okay. It's not like I'm 21 anymore, so it's just another day. But I started Get Crackin'. This is my first piece on 40 count, and I started in the center. I was happy to be able to find the center in this one, and I started in what is, if you can look here, it is the back of the boat. I mean, how adorable is this? So you have the boat, and the little mast, and there's a little guy on the mast, and there's some kraken tentacles. I have a little blingy dolphin. That is from Cassie's Needle Minders on Facebook. And this is a 48 count Newcastle linen in Silver Mist from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And also, I should add, I'm stitching this in the recommended Gloriana Silks 1/2. Oh my gosh, I love Gloriana Silks so much. I think they might be my favorite thing to stitch with in the whole world, but I'm not sure. So there's that. Day 4. A lot of people jumped in on the Star Wars stitch along. I didn't have any Star Wars patterns, and it was important to me to try to stitch from stash for this project. There was one pattern that I bought, but I would have gotten it before that. I was just waiting for my LNS to get the pattern in for me. But literally, other than some DMC, I had absolutely everything that I used for this. So I'm not really big into Star Wars. I enjoy it. Yeah, Star Wars is cool. I like it. But I don't like it enough to stitch anything that's Star Wars related. I got this X-Files pattern from Cloud's Factory back right when I found out that they were going to reboot the X-Files. So I've had it for a while. I was planning to stitch it when it came on, but I was busy with something else. I don't remember what. So I never started it. So this is the X-Files from Cloud's Factory. And what I got done was, oops, here he is. I just got a little molder. Look, he's so cute. It's a little molder. And then I started on Scully's hair. This is on 28 count Bewitched. It's a scrap piece I had of Bewitched. One of my absolute favorites from Steph. It's from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. I have a little I Want to Believe needle minder from Minding My Minders. And that's just like all Cloud's Factory patterns. Not overly difficult. No, not at all difficult. Just adorable. So I really enjoyed working on that. And then day 5, I pulled out my needle worker from Little House Needleworks. I heard a lot of complaints about, sorry, I'm making that reflect, glare, sorry. I heard a lot of people complaining about the recommended fabric. And again, I was stitching from stash, and it came as a kit, so it had all of the classic colorworks included. So I went ahead and I found this piece of Floba in my closet at my parents' house. And it was along with a lavender and lace pattern. And I remember purchasing the pattern and going into an LNS in the area that is no longer there. And I walked in and I was like, I was into an angel thing, and that was all I was stitching, different types of angels. So I picked up this lavender and lace angel, and I never stitched anything that wasn't a kit, and the lady said, well, you have to stitch it on linen. And I was completely confused and intimidated, and she got me this Floba, which, seriously, what is, I don't even know what Floba is. It feels like, it's thick. It feels, if you've never worked with it, it feels almost like burlap. It's very weighty, but very, very even, easy to work on. And I believe, I looked it up because I'm like, what the hell is Floba? So I looked it up, and it's 70% rayon, 30% linen, or 80% and 20. I can't remember which, but it's rayon and linen, so it's a synthetic blend. It gives you kind of the look of a linen. You stitch over 2, and if I'm not mistaken, it only comes in 25 count. And I guess this was, oh, this lighting's bad, sorry. I'm guessing this was this lady's compromise of, if she couldn't get me to stitch on linen, she would give me something dummy proof that I could do. So it actually was really easy to stitch on, except for how weighty it was. I stitched at work, so I'm not using a stand. I'm just holding the Q-snap in my hand. So, yeah, but I got the end done. And my needle minder is a antique scissor needle minder from Gina's Unique Boutique. Day 6. Am I on day 6? 5, 6. Yes, I believe so. Day 6 was a Friday. And what I've been doing since I work night shift is at midnight, I switch projects. You know, if I'm actually getting to stitch before midnight. On Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I work at our satellite sleep lab. And there's only 6 beds there. We only use 4, so it's just me and one other person. Blaine. You've heard me talk about Blaine before. So it's just me and Blaine, and I can sit and stitch quietly. It's a small enough lab, and the acuity of our patients is, well, it's supposed to be good, but it isn't always. But usually the acuity of the patients affords me time to stitch. On Thursday nights, I am at the main sleep lab, where there are 12 beds and 7 other people wandering around, and it's often too chaotic for me to sit there and stitch, so I didn't actually start this until I got home from work Friday morning. This is Bubbles by Ursula Michael. Someone, and I'm almost going to say, I think it was Whimsy Daisical, who started the Know Your Needleworker tag and then did a couple more videos and dropped off the face of the earth. I really wish she would come back, but she was stitching this. I think it was Whimsy Daisical. I could be completely wrong. But I fell in love with it when I saw her stitching it. Bought it back then and never touched it. So I picked this up when I got home that Friday. And I had a really bad stitching weekend, that whole weekend. And I'll get to that. But this is on 28 count Jaslyn in Frozen Fractals from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. Stitched it in the recommended DMCs. So I started right here. I got that little guy done and the outline of that. Actually wanted to keep working on this. I was really enjoying it. But I was tired and I wanted to go to sleep, so that was the end of it. I have a blingy little heart needle minder from Gina's Unique Boutique. And then Saturday. This is what I was looking forward to stitching more than anything. Oh, you have terrible glare, sorry. From Stitch Mania. It's Luna by Nora Corbett. It's one of the Bewitching Pixies. I think it was the second in the series. I think Gigi was first and then Luna. I could be wrong, but I think. I had planned to stitch this on Enchanted Forest by Under the Sea Fabrics, which is gorgeous. It's a 32 count linen. And I don't know why, but I started stitching and then things just didn't meet up. And I picked it out and I'd started stitching like right here in her skirt. And it didn't meet up. So I picked it all out. And I'd put a couple of hours in on stitching. So then I came down to the bottom and thought, well, I'll work up. And I started here. And I read the color key wrong. That was actually supposed to be stitched in Krennic. And I stitched it in 501. And I was like, you know what? F this. I can't even do it. And it's Stitch Mania. And I have to put stitches in. I'm just getting other fabric. So I don't know if my problem... I was having problems stitching on Enchanted Forest, and I don't know. I don't think it's the linen, because I have no problem stitching on Under the Sea Fabric linen. It may have just been the coloration. I know sometimes, like the Frosted Pumpkin Storytime sampler, like that color was just really difficult to stitch on for some reason, and I think maybe this was the same kind of deal. So I went through my stash, and I grabbed another piece of fabric. This is 32 count Autumn Leaves from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And it's very similar to what's pictured, but I thought it was nice and autumnal. And I started over on the skirt, and this time I did okay with it. So that was Saturday. That was Saturday. Was that the 7th? I don't remember. 5th, 6th. Yeah, this was the 7th. So on the 8th, I thought, okay, bad stitching day out of the way where I kept making mistakes and frogging. This will be better. So I pulled out this kit. This is Sea Goddess from Joan Elliott, one of my favorite designers. I've had this forever. Couldn't wait to start. And it's a kit. So the colors are separated. You can kind of see they're separated, but they're not labeled. And it says the typical, you'll have one strand of this or two strands of that. And if you can make anything out from that pattern, good for you. Don't report me for showing a pattern because you're not going to get anything out of that. But anyway, so I counted and I thought I had them right. And I stitched most of her bodice. And I'm like, it's not really matching the, I don't understand. Well, here it turns out that they're counting the threads. I think if you cut them in two, the length in two, why don't they just cut the length in two? So I had to pick it out again and start all over. And again, I was tired, so that's all I got done. And I called it a night and I went to bed. This is on 28 count Lugana in Shimmering Pool from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. I wish this was showing the actual color because it's so beautiful. And I have a little Siren needle minder from Jeannie's Unique Boutique. So I wanted to get more done with her. And by the way, not much of a Lugana stitcher anymore. But man, this Lugana from Steph is really beautiful and it's really nice. So that was day 8. Day 9, and I forgot to bring the picture over, but you guys all know what this looks like. This is the Autumn Harvest Festival from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and I just started stitching on the tree. It's 28 count cashel linen in Ale from Picture This Plus. It's the recommended fabric. I'm doing all the recommended colors, and my needle minder is a blingy leaf needle minder from Jeannie's Unique Boutique. So that was cute. And then, are we on 10? I keep losing track of the dates, I don't know why. Day 10, I started Afternoon in New York from Country Cottage Needleworks. And I'm sorry, I have a terrible glare. I started in the middle. Again, I'm not going to have much of a border. But, oh well. And this is actually going to be enough that I'm going to be able to fit all three. London and Paris also on here. So I'm just going to stitch them one right underneath the other. I don't know how I'll finish them, but that's how I'm going to stitch them. But I guess this is supposed to be the Empire State Building. I was looking at pictures trying to figure out if this is supposed to be the Chrysler Building or the Empire State Building. I don't know. But I think it's supposed to be the Empire State Building. I know people see pictures in New York all the time and they mistake the Chrysler Building for the Empire State Building. But anyway, there's that. And it's stitched in, was that a week's? I think that was a week's. It was called Seagull. So I'm stitching this in all the called for fabrics. Fabrics. And all the called for threads. The fabric is Nantucket Sky 28 count Joblin from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. And I'm using my Weeping Angel needle minder from Minding My Minders. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Any self-respecting Whovian worth their salt will understand the significance of the Weeping Angel needle minder in New York. I miss the ponds. I'll always miss the ponds. They were, I think Rose was probably my favorite companion. She'll always be my favorite companion. With 10. She was okay with 9, but I liked her better with 10. And then when I think of 11, I will always think of the ponds with him. So that is my homage to 11 and Amy. And Rory. They're awesome. Okay. I can't remember. 11? 11. Yeah, 11 was Winter Cove by the Bay Needle Arts. And you're going to be seeing a lot of By the Bay from me coming up. Just a little spoiler for my next video. And I started this. I just have, sorry, glare. I just have this little pile of snow, basically this little hill, finished. I was happy to get that done. This is stitching up beautifully. This was hard to put down. It's on 28 count Joblin and Storm by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. The needle minder is from Gina's Unique Boutique. So there's that one. I have no idea what to run. This has got to be 12. This has to be 12. I don't know how I'm counting, but this has got to be 12. So let's flip this way so you can maybe see. I started the little turtle. So this was on Wednesday night at work that I started stitching on this. The only problem I really had was that the pattern is so tiny and I hadn't scanned it. I needed kind of a break and something I didn't have to think about too much. So I didn't feel like scanning anything into Dropbox. I didn't feel like doing anything. I was kind of like, I'm Stitch Mania out. I may be done with Stitch Mania. Stitch Mania may have beaten me. But then, right as I got up for work, I was like, no, I can do it. And I grabbed this little Mill Hill kit. So this is Sea Turtle. It's a little Mill Hill bead kit from the Spring Bouquet collection. And the only problem, like I said, that I had was that the pattern was so small. So I just threw it on the copier at work and I blew it up to like 160%. So it was very easy to see. And this is my first time working on perforated paper. So it was a little bit strange. The only real issue I had was I would catch my my floss when I was stitching, you know, coming through. I would catch the floss on the edges of the paper. It's actually very sturdy. I didn't think it would be. I was afraid that I would tear it or break it, but I think that it's fine. So, yep, there's that. And then this was Friday the 13th, and I didn't even think about it being Friday the 13th, but it worked out that I had kind of a scary thing going on Friday the 13th. This is Edgar Allan Poe from the Primitive Hare. And it's got a small start on that. Again, I didn't start it till I got home from work. I actually had a lot of stuff to do on Friday. I had to go get a pedicure. I went and picked 2 pieces up at the framer, which you'll see in my May update video, but oh my god, are they beautiful. Oh, my babies are home and they're gorgeous. So yeah, that was some of my tax money went to that. But anyway, this is on 30 count Old Salem linen from the Primitive Hare. They dye this themselves. Isabel dyes this. She says she ages it. When it arrived, when I bought this last year, it must be coffee dyed because it literally for months, even having it out in the open and airing out, it smelled a lot like coffee, but the effect is beautiful. And then I just got Quoth R. But as I was stitching on Friday, it was in the evening, it was around 9 o'clock, all I could think of was the Raven. I had the poem going through my head like the whole night. And these got a little bit out of order. This was supposed to be my day 11 piece or 12. And I switched it because I wanted to do some color conversions. But this is the Harry Potter pillow sampler. It's stitched in the same colors as the giant Harry Potter sampler. And it's a Clouds Factory pattern. I really, really like it. Typical Clouds Factory. The issue I had is that the colors are wrong. Probably purposely. But they're not representative of the actual house colors. So for the borders and the banners, I wanted to use more accurate colors, which I kind of watched a little bit of the first Harry Potter film. I pulled some images up on Google. I looked at some color swatches that they had listed. I pulled out, what I actually ended up using was a picture of their ties that they wore in the film, their house ties. And I put all the floss away, so sorry I can't show it to you. I do have it all written down, so if anybody's interested, I can tell you what I end up using. But this is the Harry Potter pillow sampler. and it is on 28 count. Whoa, that's washed out. Caramel Macchiato from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. This, I can tell you right now, this blue, which is actually going to be the Ravenclaw blue, is 311. I know that that's 311. And then I have my little Nimbus 2000 needle minder from Gina's Unique Boutique. I stressed a lot. I mean, I went for hours and hours planning and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with this. And then I ended up stitching one color for about an hour. So I didn't get a whole lot done. So that was the 14th. And then the 15th was Forest of Magica. And man, I don't have a lot to show you guys. And I worked on this for about 3 hours. So this is on 28 count Joblin and Tinta Gel from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. Needle minder is from Nifty Needle Nannies. I started stitching this in some floss, variegated floss from Jodery Designs in like kind of autumn colors. And they just weren't really working with this fabric. So I picked it out and I grabbed this black silk, which is gorgeous, hand dyed by Fiberlicious. First time I've worked with any of the Fiberlicious silks that I bought. Beautiful to work with, absolutely gorgeous. Very easy to work with. They don't tend to knot up or fray. So I highly recommend Fiberlicious threads. But man, I don't like this either. So I don't know if it's going to require a fabric change or some more careful planning with the floss, but I knew I needed to have my 15th start, so there is my 15th start. So achievement unlocked, Stitch Mania complete. I am going to start my 16th start at work tonight after we get our patients settled, and that will be my May block in my Joyful World Stitch Along. So hopefully when I do my May update, I will have that completed to show you. Some thoughts on Stitch Mania are, it was fun. It was great to pull out these things that I have had kitted up forever, and they're just kind of sitting there waiting because I feel like I shouldn't keep starting new things. So the 15 starts in 15 days was a lot. There were a few days where, and I don't normally stitch every day. I'll stitch for a couple of days, then I'll take a couple days off, and you know, that's just how I go, and that's fine with me. So forcing myself to stitch every day was good and bad. The good part was I got some things done. The bad part was it started to feel like a job, and these last few days I was like, oh God, I don't want to do this. But I wanted to make myself do it. There was no pressure put on me by anyone but myself, just because I wanted to be able to do it. Overall, it was a lot of fun. When I do it next year, and I will participate next year, anything that I didn't finish from this year will be coming back out to play. And a lot of people did that who participated last year, and I think that's really great. Hopefully some of these smaller projects I can get done. There are some that I did not want to put down and I want to pull out. There were a couple I was really disappointed, like Luna. I just want to love that project, and I don't know why. But I love her, and I want to get her done, so we'll see. Other thoughts. Things that I did, things that I stitched on. I stitched on perforated paper for the first time. I stitched on Floba for the first time. I stitched on 40 count Newcastle linen for the first time. I used Joblin, I used Jaslyn, I used Belfast linen, I used Cashel linen. So I used a variety of materials, which was really, really great. I used Lugana. The only thing I didn't use, I think, was Ada, which is weird. But I still stitch on Ada. There's nothing wrong with Ada. So yeah, there's that. I used DMC. I used Weeks Dye Works. I used Gentle Art Sampler. I used Classic Color Works. I used Gloriana Silks. I used silk from Fiberlicious. I did not use any well, I did use Jodery, but I picked it out. Not because I don't like Jodery design. I'm in the thread of the month, so I love Jodery. I just didn't like what was happening on the fabric with it, probably because of the fabric choice. But I used hand-dyed fabrics from Stephanie from Under the Sea Fabrics and from Picture This Plus. So, did a lot of things, and I used a lot of materials I hadn't used before. So, all in all, I think Stitch Mania was a success. I'm having such a good time watching everybody's videos. Oh, and I know I said that I'm going to do a giveaway. And I am going to do a giveaway. And I've been thinking about it, and I didn't pull any of the things out I need to show you for the giveaway. But I'm going to fill you in a little bit on what it's going to be. There will be some patterns that are going to be one of the options. There's going to be a couple of different options. There's going to be a gift certificate, possibly 2. So I think there's going to be 3 winners with options for the international folks and for the people here in the States. And yeah, so I'm going to actually announce that on my May update video, and then I'll probably leave it open until I have vacation in June, because that'll probably be a really good time to do it. So for you guys who have completed your Stitch Mania, yay, Stitch Mania. For those of you who are still going strong and doing the whole entire month, good job, guys. More power to you. And have a really, really great stitchy week. Bye.